Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to those of you who are visiting for the first time. I haven't been particularly prolific lately, I'm afraid. This is, I believe, the first video of 2021, and in fact, probably the first Transformers pure figure review, masterpiece scale figure review I've done in 5 months, I think, since the KO MP44 review I did. So yeah, it's been a while. Anyway, as you can tell, we're here with the latest X-Transbots release, their Locke, which is obviously the version of Cup that they've been developing for probably about 5 years or so now. It's finally here, and I received it yesterday. I've had a little bit of time to play around with it, so I'm going to give you my brutally honest opinions on whether, you know, it's not bad for an old-timer or if it's a shit piece. So yeah, anyway, let's get started. Let's take a quick look at the packaging, which, you know, like most X-Transbots releases, the imagery is pretty good. I like the picture. He does look really smart. It's pretty reminiscent of the 2 model and indeed of the figure that you get inside. Moving around, we have the usual schematic artwork. You get the tech spec on the back there, which, you know, is a nice G1 toy throwback. I'll put that up there for any of you who want to freeze frame a bit. Excuse the shaky hands, I'm holding this out at quite an arm's length. But yeah, there we go. So you can read all about Locke and his companion Flinch. And yeah, on the other side, just what you'd expect. The usual XTB deco, his motto there, and the usual video on one of their upcoming releases. Is that, I don't know, what is that? Deathsaurus? Who knows? Not really into that Transformers of that ilk. Anyway, let's get this box out of the way, and we'll go into a more in-depth look at the contents before we go into the full figure review. So give me a second and I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are with some of the additional content that comes in the box. Obviously you've got the manual there, which, you know, it's a manual, seen one, seen them all. It does have some quite nice artwork of their upcoming Virtus and some of the other figures. Full colour, has the transformation steps in there. Not for the Targetmasters, but I'll cover that in a second. And it has pictures of everything that you get in the package. Some of these additional pieces I will show you when I show you the figure, such as the weaponry, etc. But yeah, that's, I mean, it's a manual. What more do I need to say? You also get the standard collector card here. Again, I don't know about you. It's not bad material, this one. It's not the flimsy card that you get with some. But yeah, I don't know about you, but I, you know, look at these once, put them in the box, never to be seen again. Pretty much like the coins and any other kind of non-figure related stuff that you get with these things these days. Let's have a look at some of the other bits. So first off, we get what I've seen as being lovingly referred to as Mickey Mouse hands by other people. These are alternate hands for Locke. They are somewhat comically oversized when you put them on the figure, and not really any better than the ones that come as stock, to be honest. I mean, you may prefer them. I have stuck with the hands that came pre-attached just because I think they are a better, sort of a better fit, a better size. But, you know, they're an option should you so desire. Moving on, we have an alternate headpiece. So if you like the IDW cup, this is a flat top cup, whereas obviously the G1 model had a more of a dome shape. Now this is the one that actually comes pre-installed, but I swapped it out as soon as I could because I don't like it. You may be able to see there, it's actually quite rough around the edges. I'm hoping that's coming across on camera. Yeah, so it's pretty rough around the edges, and the paint has a few sort of marks and scratches on it and stuff, some of which they also look like a kind of a lead pencil-y type mark, and when you sort of rub off them, this one's not moving, but some of the others I've seen on the figure have come off. But anyway, I just want you to bear that in mind as we move on with the rest of the review. The faces that you get, I've already swapped one of them out. Sorry, so this is the face that comes installed as stock, which I think is a really nice face sculpt actually. Yeah, it's really pretty nice. I don't know if on balance I prefer Coots, Fans Toys version of Cup, but this is by far and away one of the better face sculpts I've seen from XTB for a while. It's yeah, really nice, really evocative of the character. He also comes with this laughing face, and again the inside of the mouth may, it could have probably benefited from having some black paint in there. I mean, it's not a massive deal breaker for me, but I know it irks a lot of people. But yeah, there's his laughing face, which again is pretty nice. And then this one here, I believe, again, I'm not familiar with IDW, but I understand that's the inspiration for this, where he's smoking what is, I don't know, it's spelled cigar. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, unless they've just substituted the Y and it's a cigar. But no, cigar would make more sense for cybernetic. Anyway, it's again a nice sculpt, meant to be used with the flat top head, I'm sure, although you could use it with either, and it doesn't have to be IDW only, does it? Yeah, it's a pretty nice sculpt, nice little piece for those of you who want that option. So those are the sort of main add-ons for Locke himself. Let's have a look at the Targetmasters. So Targetmasters are generally, I'm not at all bothered by them. I was never a fan of the gimmick in the G1 toys. I'm not a fan of it now, and by and large they are an afterthought and pretty throwaway things. This is probably, well, these are probably the worst examples I've seen of Targetmasters. They're, I mean, I don't want to throw the word crap around, but yeah, if it smells like it, it's honestly, they are rubbish. They've got a lot of paint on them, but that in turn makes the joints too stiff in places, and it makes them pop off as well, and also it wears the paint when the joints move. I don't know, I mean this guy, which I think is, this is Cups, isn't it? I think this is Recoil, otherwise known as Flinch. He's alright, he looks okay in robot mode. I have not been able to transform him for the life of me. I mean, I got as far as figuring out that these go there. Again, you can see on this, sorry, some quite rough edges on it. I don't know if that's showing up. There you go, probably showing up there. And that this comes down, but then do these fold over like that? If they do, then how does he hold the gun? They can't fold that way, because that just looks ridiculous. You're not going to have a gun that looks like that, are you? I mean, there were no instructions for them. I haven't really figured out how they're supposed to look. I mean, obviously when you bend the knees, you have to do that as well, which is rubbish. To be honest, I just don't care enough to try and figure out how they look. The other one that comes, I believe, is a replacement for Firebolt, MP28's Nebulon partner, Targetmaster partner. I could not get it into the configuration that they show in the promo pictures for the life of me, but I did get into something resembling a gun. I don't know. I mean, it looks like that would be the handle that's held like that, and that looks like that. It looks like crap anyway. It's by far the worst Targetmaster I've seen. But in the other sort of pose I've seen on the pictures, these pieces here come down, and then you've got the gun there, and these pieces hook in to the legs, and then he attaches via those to the hood of the car. But I don't know how the hell they're supposed to do that, because I don't know if they've been moulded incorrectly or something, because you notice here there are these hooks on the legs. Well, these bits can't move past it, so they can't achieve the pose or they can't achieve the position that's shown in the artwork. And there's no instructions, so I mean, how the hell does that work? Yeah, I mean, answers on a postcard, please, or in the comments section, preferably. But yeah, I mean, look at that. You can see I got rough paint on that one. That one's really rough. This one's popped off a few times. It doesn't want to go on properly, or back on properly. Like he was dabbing then, didn't he? Woohoo. Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you want to stick them on a shelf and never really do anything with them, which, let's face it, that's probably what you would do with a Targetmaster anyway. Yeah, they might be all right, but honestly, I don't know. I feel like I've wasted too much time talking about these things anyway. They're crap. They're really pretty poor. They feel like an afterthought. I'm not at all concerned with them. I don't find them like interesting in any way. This now doesn't want to go back up, and I swear that used to flip back up into the back, and now it doesn't want to flip back up into the back. Yeah. Anyway, they're trash. Let's get rid of them. Right. I'll be back in a second with a look at the main attraction, so to speak. So please just bear with me. And here we go. We're back with Locke himself, old Masterpiece Cup, or Masterpiece Style Cup. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the colours come across on camera, but they're really nice in person, and the sculpt is really great. I mean, if you were to put this next to Coot, and I've seen it, I don't own Coot, but I've seen it in photos, both pre-release and in-hand photos on the TFW forums. This absolutely destroys Coot in terms of style and colouring, I think, personally anyway. Coot has advantages over this, don't get me wrong, in some respects, but this, I think aesthetically, this is the winner hands down. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but I think it's fair to say that that might be one of the only positive things I say about this figure going forward. So just, buckle up. And just to let you know what you're in for. The other thing I probably should have said up front, and apologies for leaving it until this late in the video, I'm sure a bunch of you will just disappear now, if you haven't already, is that I will not be transforming this figure. So if you came here looking for a transformation, that's not what you're going to get, I'm afraid. I have seen way too many posts about breakages for me to even risk it, considering the end result, alt mode, is incredibly bland to me. Cup never had a particularly exciting alt mode. This actually looks pretty faithful, the most faithful interpretation of it, but the hassle getting there, which I think at best will result in paint chipping, at worst will result in lots of broken pieces. It just isn't worth the effort for me. I'm a bot mode displayer. I don't really transform all that much unless it's a fun, easy transformation for an alt mode that I really enjoy. Say Vans Toys Phoenix is worth the effort because it's pretty quick, it's pretty intuitive, it feels robust, it's not like it's going to break on you, and the jet mode is as good as the bot mode. It's so much so that I wish it wasn't as overpriced as it is in the aftermarket, because I'd love to have a secondary one for an alt mode display. But anyway, I digress. This is not in that camp. This is a nightmare. I had to do a couple of bits just to sort of mess around with it to try and get the bot more aligned, and even that was bad enough. The tolerances are just absurd. I don't know, the paint seems too thick in places, which causes issues. The plastic isn't quite right in areas. I'll go into all that anyway. So apologies if you came looking for that. I've put a picture of the alt mode in the opening sort of title for this video. I can flash up a picture of the alt mode on screen here as we talk about it as well. And to be honest with you, you're going to get as much out of that as you are looking at the completed transformation. Once you know what it looks like, it rolls, it's a car, it doesn't need as much explanation as the bot itself. So, with that caveat, if you want to stick around, then please do, but I'll understand if you don't. Anyway, on with the sort of appraisal. Where do I begin? So I was really anticipating this. I've almost completed my collection. I say completed, whoever does. But in terms of what I set out to achieve, which was the entire season 1 cast, the entire movie cast, and when I say the entire movie cast, I mean characters new to the movie, so not Perceptor, not Blaster, not any character like that, but your Cups, Hot Rods, RCs, Ultra Magnus, Rodimus Prime, all of those characters. and obviously the Decepticon counterparts. I needed two figures really. I needed Cup and I needed Springer, and I didn't like the look of any of the other offerings. Obviously Coot from Fans Toys is the only other Cup we have at the moment. I really didn't like it. I could have got it several times over for a reasonable price as well. And yeah, I just wasn't interested. I didn't like the colours. I didn't like the bulky backpack. I didn't like the. I just didn't like it. Let's face it. There's not really any need to go on about it. It wasn't for me. And again with the Springers, there weren't really any that I really felt that sort of interested in. Like I really didn't like Fans Toys. I felt the proportions in every mode were off. The bot didn't look great. MMC Soltus looked pretty good. Again, the alt mode, not entirely faithful in car mode, but arguably looks better. The bot, yeah, reasonably close, but not close enough for me. I really, for a time, considered getting, what was it called? The Open and Play version, their Big Spring. Because although it was, you know, a pretty cheap one, that was the appeal, actually. It was very cheap. But it still looked pretty good in most modes, especially bot mode. It's just it had a terrible head sculpt, which really put me off. And I was sure that something better would come along. I think there may even have been another Springer, which I am completely blanking on for the time being. So forgive me for that. But I'm sure someone will enlighten me in the comments. But anyway, you know, when I saw that X-Transbots were going to release both of those characters, I thought I'm going to wait it out. The renders look great, and you know, I had faith in them. I'd probably naively, but I haven't really ever bought a bad X-Transbots or KFC figure. I've had a couple with niggling things, like Savant had his loose arm, which was from the first batch that I knew about when I bought, because I bought it second hand, and my Klaatu, which is an amazing figure, one of their best figures. Mine just had a dumb luck issue with mine, QC issue, whereby the flap on the left foot doesn't rotate properly because the pin's blurred. That could have happened on any figure anywhere, you know. That's not a design flaw, it's just a silly QC thing. But still a great figure. And I guess you could say like there were design elements of things like Ollie that aren't great. People will slate Boost all day long, but I don't mind it. Their Toro's pretty good. You know, I like the Junkions. To be honest with you, you know, I've not had like an awful experience with one. You know, I've had some bad experiences with Fans Toys. Like, you know, I wouldn't transform Hoodlum or their Jabber because I thought I was going to break it. It's the first one I've actually thought I was going to break. And Hoodlum because it had paint chipping, which would have made worse. And it was just, those two were old designs as well. So, unfortunately, in waiting, I mean, it's come to light that this is obviously an old design as well. The initial renders were around 5 years ago. I didn't realise that. And then when I saw that it was being pulled for redesign, I thought, oh great, they're modernising it. And they have to an extent, but not as much as you would hope. Anyway, I'm going on. Let me just get into it and let me show you why. I'm trying to be as positive as I can, but I think, you know, you can tell where this is going. So anyway, the figure itself, it's actually pretty heavy. It's got some nice heft to it because it has die-cast thighs. So there is a lot of die-cast in there, and in the chest. It is a hefty figure. I think they've taken the sort of Fans Toys route of going, hey, if we make it heavy, people will assume it's premium, in quotes. The same goes for the paint. Slather it in loads of paint, whether it's a good idea or not. I'm seeing paint on my table here, like it's coming off as I'm touching it, which is always a good sign now. But yeah, so they've gone for that. They've done that, but they've done it without any of the workmanship or the quality that goes into Fans Toys figures. And like not every Fans Toys figure, like I've said, I'll admit that they have their issues. I'll be more willing to admit that than a lot of Fans Toys fanboys. But yeah, X-Transbots are not there in consistency. This is a massive step backwards as far as I'm concerned from my experience with them. I can't speak to things like the Stunticons, which I understand had a few issues, but in terms of what I've had, they've been reasonably consistent. This is a big step back. So, you know, let's just go through some of what he can do, and some of the issues will become apparent. As you'll see, he looks really nice in this mode. You know, in robot mode, aesthetically, it's a great piece. but it's when you look at it that the things start to sort of unravel. So we'll just start. Obviously, I can show you the two things that I didn't show you earlier. He comes with this shark decon tail here, which is a really nice addition actually, and it's a nice colour and it's posable as well. So you can, it's articulated. You can have it in a variety of different poses. In moving it, I've inadvertently displayed one of the issues. That being that. Oh, and there's another one, but we'll cover that in due course. So anyway, it's a nice piece. It's from that scene in the movie, but it's actually a really nice. Instead of it being this static thing, it's nice. Again, if you look at it up close, it's pretty rough and molded in some places, but it's an accessory. The gun, it's like a throwback to his old G1 musket. I think he had a laser musket or something like that. I'm sure that was what it was on the tech spec. And it's pretty nicely molded. It's very reminiscent of the G1 piece. If you actually have that still, you can compare them. They do look very similar. But he doesn't really... Yeah, again, you look, it's not being held square. It's sort of tilted, and that's kind of the best I can get. Like, he doesn't drop it, but he doesn't hold it very well. And I'll go into the reason why. I'll take this out. And I'll take this out, and as you can see that they're unpegged, and I've got the other things happened again. Anyway, let's get rid of these bits so I can cover what's happening. Let's do an articulation checklist from the top anyway. So, oh, here's the other face as well that I realised I didn't show you. Can I get that to focus? There you go. That's his sort of yelling, grimacing face, which is really nice. I do like it. I think it's a really nice piece. And that is the domed head on. And even taking the head apart, taking the screw out and pushing that in as much as I can, I still have that little gap there, which isn't terrible, but it is a bit annoying. But it's also very rough around the edges as well, if you see. Anyway, still great face sculpt, so that is at least another positive. The head is, well, it's not on a ball joint, it's just on a post, so it can look up that far, it can look down that far, but obviously it's hampered by the chin, and it can do a 360. It's just on a peg there. It does pop off quite easy if you need it to. He could actually theoretically look down more because this whole assembly here lifts up, but that, yeah, you're not designed to do that. Arms, they're pretty good actually. They will go full 360. He says it's got stuck a bit there because of the shoulder. It can go all the way up to here, so above the horizontal. It also has this like little joint in there, so it moves a little bit more. You have a bicep swivel as well, but it's incredibly tight. Like, that's really tight. I've tried to get silicone spray in there, but there isn't enough of a gap to get any in, so I think the more I move it, the better it will get. But it's because of the paint. It's basically very tight because of the paint. It has a double jointed elbow there, which is really nice. Kind of breaks up a bit when you do that because the pad doesn't move with it, but it still looks fine. It's not terrible. One of the other QC issues has just happened, but you can't see it at the moment. I'll show you in a second. The wrists will swivel 360, and you have a non-moving thumb, a single individually articulated finger, and then 3 fingers pinned here. You'll notice in there as well that it has that new style of grip where the that little recess there opens up as you open up the hand and closes as you close the hand, and that's what's supposed to grip the gun, but it just doesn't work. So none of the hands, not even the Mickey Mouse ones, they're marginally better but not much better. So none of the hands really grip the weapons particularly well. He has an adequate waist swivel. Because of the buckle there, he gets to this point and he stops either way, and you don't really want to push it any further because in doing so you'll run the risk of paint wear. He does have an ab crunch, quite a deep ab crunch, but it's not really an ab crunch, it's a transformation joint, and it breaks the sculpt because it's just a giant frickin' hinge. Which also exposes one of the worst, well, the worst design element about this figure. This is a heavy die-cast piece of chest, and all of his arms and everything attached to a heavy lower set of legs, etc. And it is off of this single plastic pin here, which hopefully you can see, and a hinge there. Now that basically says to me this is not really a matter of if it breaks, but when it breaks. And that is really concerning. Like I can see this going at some point. You know, probably not for me because I'm going to keep it on a shelf static. But if you try and transform this more than a handful of times, I've seen people have breakage already. When he's crunched, you still can get more of a turn on him because of that buckle, which is unfortunate. So really it's quite limited in the waste. I'm just trying to see if that is paint transfer or... it came off. Wow, a positive. So it has the usual hip skirts on both sides here. I'll open them both up because I want to do a quick test actually. Oh, didn't want to push that quite as far as I did because I don't want to rub paint. He also has these butt flaps, which they don't peg in. They look like maybe they should peg into there, but they don't. They are designed to be down. The reason being that they emulate the animation model. He does look a bit like that, albeit not segmented. It's a continuous piece, but it's not bad. It's a close approximation. But anyway, the legs, they are ratcheted forward on a soft ratchet. Actually, mine are ratcheted backwards. So yeah, they don't go all that far forward actually. They only go that far forward, and they go further backwards, which is weird. I swear in reviews I've seen from other people the ratchet's forward and not back, but that could be another QC issue. Oh yeah, look, this one's ratcheted forward, or audibly ratcheted forward. I'm back. I just think they're broken then, because on the video I watched, they ratcheted one way, but not the other. On this one ratchets both ways. This one only ratchets one way, or it's like, oh no, it does ratchet both ways. Oh no, now it's not ratcheting. Oh, now it's... What the hell? I swear that was the other way around. It was, right? I'm not going mad. I can't watch the video back at the moment, but I swear it ratcheted backwards. And now it's ratcheting forwards, but not backwards. And this one is ratcheting forwards and backwards. Oh, now it's ratcheting backwards. It seems to be relative to the position of this leg. That's another thing I've discovered. That's a load of crap. Okay, so that's another negative point I've discovered. Awesome. Anyway, he has a friction joint out to the side. These legs are very heavy. I can't convey it really, but they are super heavy. I mean, you can hear the heft. He's this pretty chunky guy, but it holds pretty well. Very well, you might say. Slightly worried about that design again though. You've got all that weight resting on what is this flimsy plastic pin joint here. I mean, I don't think he's going to take much shaking before his leg goes down. I think mine are better than some I've seen, like, but you're not going to want to put too much weight, and I see that one droops. But anyway, you're not going to be doing that, are you? So, but still, he has the usual thigh swivel there, which is okay. You have this weird transformation joint here where the thigh separates. I only point that out because it's annoying. It doesn't sit quite flush, and it does have a tendency to separate. And I think, again, that's due to the paint. This left one's worse. The right one's a bit stiffer. Again, I could probably sort that out by a small application of my favourite floor polish. If I put that into that sliding joint, it will thicken it up and it will make it a bit better. But again, when he's on a shelf, he's not going to be popping out all the time. It's just because I'm handling him. The knees... they are ridiculously stiff, so much so that I had to, I thought I was going to break them, so I had to apply a liberal dose of silicone spray to them before I attempted to even move them. Even having done that, they're still very stiff, and the only way I really feel comfortable is by holding the whole leg assembly like this and posing them. Again, just very strange. Yeah, I don't feel like I want to grab the bottom of that leg and move it. I feel like I have to grab it close to the joint. It feels a bit like MP44, you know, with its dodgy knees. I mean, I guess Cup is an old timer, so, you know, dodgy knees, you know, they come to the best of us, but I think they've taken it a bit literally here. Old X-Transbots. Oh, another QC issue on mine I'd like to point out as well, just because it speaks to the whole sort of attitude X-Transbots have. On this side of the figure, silver screws that fill the whole leg. On this side, black screws, one of which is recessed. I just think they were like, nah, fuck it, that'll do. It's obviously, it doesn't show that much, but it just speaks to the lack of attention to detail and care that X-Transbots have demonstrated with this release. Moving further down, we come to the foot. I've seen some people have really floppy feet on this, left feet especially. Mine is okay, thankfully, or not too bad. You get a reasonable amount of tilt there, toe tilt. You have a heel spur at the back there. Ankle tilt's not too bad. It's not hugely severe, but it's enough that, as you saw when I initially had it, you can get him in pretty wide stances, and he looks okay. Another QC issue, the thing that I alluded to earlier, this piece fell off again. I should have glued it by now, but I haven't because I just wanted to demonstrate. It was glued at some point, because you can see the residue on there. You'll see it shining under the light, but obviously it didn't set properly or whatever, it didn't take, so it came off. Annoyingly, that means that some of the paint on the top of this has flaked off. You can see there's a darker piece towards the front, which when it's on does still show to a degree when you compare it to the one on that side, but it's not the end of the world, but it is annoying. I could always glue that on. I'll clear that residue off and glue it on. I wonder, the reason it may have happened actually, I don't know if this is just mine or all of them, but this piece came mistransformed out of the box, so it's supposed to be flat, like flush against that, which it was on this leg, which allows everything to, well, sort of tab together cleanly. It does pop out every now and again, but because when I had it, this piece was open and this was pushed in, and then they tried to close it with that pushed. I think that bit was pushing against this and popped it off. I can't see them having done that on every one, but quite a lot of people seem to have this problem with this piece falling off. So I'm going to leave that off for the time being. I'll remedy that at a later time. Let's get him back into a sort of an easier pose to manage, and then we'll go through some of the other bits that I've discovered. So another thing is he has this thing for transformation with his wrists, where they pull out and move back, but the tab that secures them is that it's absolutely minuscule. It's a tiny thing there, as you can see just there, really, really tiny, and it goes into there. That should have been twice the length, because you push it in, you do that, and it's on, but when you do that, bang, any sort of pressure on the wrist, and it pops open. It's just pathetic. It's like, why did you not make that just a little bit bigger, a little bit more robust? The left one's worse than the right. The right one actually does take quite a bit of pressure before it does it. There's no amount of tightening screws or anything that make this better. It's that mechanism. I mean, tightening the screw will push that together more firmly and maybe put a little bit more pressure on this, but that doesn't ameliorate the situation. So anyway, yeah, that's another, like I said, bad QC thing, bad design, bad QC. They didn't pick it up when they were quality testing it. What else? I mean, I feel like I'm just ragging on it, but hey, it deserves it. The other things, the chest compression, this comes out of the box, it's not compressed, so you have to do so. That can be arduous because you have to get this in there and everything. It's not terrible, but it is a bit of a pain. The back does have a tendency to pop up. I mean, there's nothing to secure this, so it just wobbles around. That's a bit rubbish. Another major issue, and I don't know how well... Oh, I've knocked the wrist out again just by lightly touching it. Another major issue, and I don't know how well it will show, is if I try and put it level, can you see that? This piece here sits reasonably flush. That piece is raised. So this whole neck assembly on mine and a lot of others that I've seen is warped. So that's warped, but so is the back. So this piece here that plugs in is it's in now because I forced it in, but there are two little tabs under there. I want to take it out and show you, but I also don't. There are two little tabs that pop in. Now, the piece itself, I'm going to do it, but this piece, I don't know again how, if you'll be able to see it, it's warped. You can probably see it. It's not level. When you look at it, it goes up on an angle like that, so it's warped there on that hinge. That bit there is higher, that bit's lower. It's a bit similar to my Megatron, my MP36 Megatron. It had an arm panel that was like that. I think it's because this other piece is warped where the pin goes through. So that makes it very difficult to peg these two little bits into these notches here. It's doable, but it's not easy. Another issue as well is that trying to get all this aligned. This is designed to sit over the top of these fenders that fold up inside. And you can see there's like a little lip there that sits just to the other side of these fenders. Mine came mistransformed so that they weren't far enough forward, so it was pushed down, but it was bent over, and I'm wondering if that contributed to some of the issues. I managed to get it. Oh no, see now this one's now not going over because I've popped this thing up, so I shouldn't have done it. See now, when I try and push that down, it's hitting it. Oh, I've got it back, thank God. But now I have to try and get this back in, and I think, see now it's popping out. Like if I do it, it doesn't want to stay in. I've kind of got it in, but it's not happy. Yeah, so I kind of wish I hadn't done that now. But yeah, now it's just popping out the whole time. Brilliant. Oh, that's so annoying. Anyway, oh, I've got it to stick. Right, I'm leaving that alone. Don't look at it, don't breathe. But anyway, it's just, again, it just speaks to the lack of care and attention to detail. Which when you look at it like this, it's such a pity because look at that. That's such a great heroic pose. He looks fantastic. And, you know, even taking into account other stupid little things, like just real niggly little things, like QC things, like dumb decisions they've made. So like, look at this. They've got the colours, you know, I think when they initially previewed it, it had metallic colours, metallic paint, and it looked awful. And I was like, oh my God, if they leave it like that, I'm going to have to go looking for Coot. But thankfully they changed it, and they changed it to look really great. And I'm like, great, they've gone back to the renders. The renders looked really nice. And then when I compared this to the renders, I was like, oh, well, the colours actually, they've changed them. They've improved the colours. Great, well done. I mean, I probably would have gone for more of a yellow than this gold, but no, it looks fine. It looks pretty good. But what have they forgotten to do? You know, they've painted his arms and his legs and his chest, this lovely, almost too accurate shade, and then they forget his effing abs. Like, all you've got to do is look at the animation model. Like, it's there. The reference, the point of reference for colour is there, and for detail is there. Again, it just smacks of laziness, or, well, maybe not laziness, but complacency, or just lack of attention to detail again. So, you know, it's the first thing I see now when I look at this figure is like, his abs should be painted, and my eyes are drawn to it. So as much joy as I can take in the other bits, I'm always looking at it thinking, oh, what could have been? And it's because it's in such a prominent place as well. Now, I mean, I could arguably paint that myself. I'm not great at painting, so I might make it look worse. And I shouldn't have to, you know? This is the thing. I'd have to paint match, which is difficult, and then apply it without it looking crap. This just isn't an acceptable thing. Like, this figure is not up to the standard that I would expect. You know, I know COVID is responsible for price increases, so, you know, I can't attribute it to just X-Transbots' recent apparent price gouging. But, you know, they're going that way. You know, they charged a stupid amount for the trailer, for the Motormaster trailer, etc., with all the bits. So if you wanted to complete your Menasor, you had to pay through the nose. Their Virtus now has been redesigned, quote unquote, and is now a premium edition with a slightly more premium price tag. But again, they got the colours completely wrong on that, and it's only because everyone on Facebook revolted and told them that it was terrible that they've gone back to the drawing board and gone, hey, look, we're listening, you know, blah blah blah. These are the colours, but still not showing final like pictures of the bot mode painted and stuff. It smacks of like them having something to hide. And it was the same with this. Like this didn't get a proper video. It had a half-assed, laughable attempt at someone transforming it on their Facebook page, which looked terrible. Made me never want to transform it even before I got it. They didn't really show off the bot mode. obviously, because they knew they had a lemon on their hands, they threw this out the door before Chinese New Year to get it out there. As I said, I know COVID is responsible for the price hikes in some circumstances. So, this cost 90 quid plus shipping, but obviously the shipping's a separate issue. But this would have been a 70 quid figure last year. And even at 70 quid, I'd have been like, are you kidding me? This is not up to standard. This is not up to par. You really, really should be ashamed of yourselves for chucking this out with all of these very obvious known QC issues. I mean, Keith himself has pretty much admitted online that he knew there were problems with it and has then backtracked. It is not acceptable. I don't have allegiance to any particular manufacturer. I'm not a fanboy of Fans Toys or XTB or anyone. I will slag off any figure that I think is not worthy of my money. All of these companies have released figures that I think are great. They've pretty much all released figures that I think are terrible as well, or not terrible. If not terrible, then lacking and not worth the money. Takara being one of the main ones. MP44, MP45 both had well documented issues, even though they've released some figures I absolutely love. Fans Toys, love Phoenix. Hoodlum, just an outdated piece of crap. Basically, it's a shelf warmer until a better hot rod arrives. Same with Jabba, really. Terrible transformation, outdated design, wrong colours, but at least it looks reasonable. Rouge isn't great, but I still think it's the best of the RCs because Takara's looks terrible. I could go on. I mean, DX9, Gabriel, I love that, but the QC on that was absolutely appalling. And, it broke out the box and it was an expensive figure, like nearly 300 quid. Everyone has their off days, I know that, but, XTB have got a history of poor QC and they improved and they've taken a quantum leap backwards with this. It's got me severely worried for Virtus, which I've already paid for. I mean, I'm still going to go through with it because I don't like any of the other offerings, and Springer is the last character I now need to complete my collection. And again, like this, it probably will look great in bot mode, even if the rest of it is a nightmare. But that is 130 quid plus shipping. And it does have some nice stuff with it. It's got a lot of accessories. I think it even has light up features. But they are not in a position where they should be going for this premium product because they are not good enough. Their standards are not good enough. Get your basics right before you start charging more for premium stuff. This I'm afraid to say, despite it looking really, really nice, is that another QC issue there? Like that panel, I just noticed that. There, that's flush. That isn't flush. That could just be, is that because it isn't pushed out? I don't know. I'll have to take that apart and find out. But that might be because it's not going to sit flush. Oh no, is it? There we go. Right, okay, sorry, I fixed that. But again, that's another thing. Why was that not flush? Sorry, it's turned into a bit of a rant now, hasn't it? But I'm afraid I just need to warn people about this. I'm not gonna like, sugarcoat it for people. I don't care if you are a fanboy of any of these things. I've spoken to what I think are the positives about this. It's a great looking sculpt. It's really, really evocative of the character. If those abs were painted, I'd even say it was pretty much as close to a toon accurate as you could get with still having a transformation. I mean, the movie characters were never designed with a transformation in mind, not with a toy in mind. They were designed for animation first, not the other way around. So getting them animation accurate in both modes as a practical 3D piece of technology is much harder than some of the other older Autobots, for example, like the Nissans and things, even Prime. This does a really great job of both modes. It's just getting between them is an effing nightmare and not worth the effort. And it has a litany of issues which severely detract from the overall product. Anyway, I've gone on, I've gone on at length about it, haven't I? But I'm sure you're all sick of me ranting. But it's just a really disappointing turn of events. I was really looking forward to this, and I feel very let down by it. Very, very let down, and slightly ripped off. I'm not going to lie. It's made me reconsider future X-Transbots purchases. Like their Dr. Egg was one of the first things that made me do that. I thought that was an overpriced piece of crap. I mean, that if they'd released that for half the price without the electronics, I think more people would have bought them, or even Army built with them. This is the way they're planning on going, then they're going to lose a lot of customers, I tell you. As I say, I've already paid for Virtus. I just hope it turns out better than this. I mean, how can it not, eh? Famous last words. But yeah, I can't recommend this. I really can't. Like, I mean, if you're like a completionist like me, or you need Cup as the character, and you're just going to display it on a shelf, and you're not going to mess with it, you might want to take the risk of the QC lottery and get it as a display piece. Now, for that, actually, I can say yes, I could recommend it under those circumstances. For me, I'm going to find a cool pose for him, much like the one I had him in when I first brought him onto the screen, and he will probably sit there like that forevermore, along with Hot Rod, RC, Blur, and Springer on the same shelf. But just if you like to play with your toys, I can't recommend this at all. It's not worth it. It's not durable enough. It's certainly just not a robust figure. It's not enjoyable either to transform or to manipulate. I think it's going to break on you if you try. It's a real shame. I mean, they may release a V2 at some point down the line with corrected decals or paint apps, and better tolerances, etc., improvements. They've done that for a number of figures, haven't they? But the point is, why should we have to do that? Like, we're paying good money for this stuff. We keep these companies in business, and they're going to have to learn that if they don't give us quality merchandise, if they want to take the piss like this, that they'll soon find customers. Customer loyalty will be tested, and it won't last that long. Anyway, this does feel like it has been a very, very negative video, which I guess it has. But I mean, I've tried to find some positives in it. Like I said, it does look, looks pretty sweet like that. But yeah, it's not worth the asking price, and it's a major step backwards in terms of their quality control. I would say I hope you'd enjoyed this video, but I don't know that there was a lot to enjoy in it. But I hope it's at least been informative. I still managed to talk for almost 50 minutes, even though I haven't transformed it. Yeah, even if it saves someone out there from buying a lemon, or at least lets you go in forewarned. Like I said, I'm not saying don't buy it, because I did, and if you honestly put a gun to my head now and said, would you buy this or Coot? Given that I want a Cup and I don't like Coot, I would probably still buy this, knowing that it will suit my specific purposes of being a static display piece. But yeah, as I said, I would never buy this if I was someone who liked to transform my figures. Yeah. Just hope if you do buy it, just hope you get a good, what I say good in quotes, a satisfactory one with only, 6 or so, half a dozen or so QC issues, rather than one that falls apart on you. So yeah, I mean, take from that what you will, make of it what you will. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do with their money, but my advice is buyer beware. Anyway, with that out of the way, I just want to say thanks for dropping by again. I hope this has been of some use to someone. I will be back with Virtus after Chinese New Year now, I'm sure. I think it's due to drop maybe in April now. I probably won't have another video out before then in terms of masterpiece scale, but I may do something else. I'm thinking about another idea for videos at the moment, which I might do. So yeah, thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for everyone who subscribed even during the downtime. That's nice. I've had a few more subscribers. I think shows that there are people out there who do enjoy the content, which is good to know. So yeah, all it really remains for me to say is to everyone, take care, everyone. I hope you're all coping in the current circumstances. In year 20 of lockdown, that's how it feels. Is light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully we'll be back out you know, staring at the sun in wonder in no time at all. And spring is on the way. You know, hopefully this freezing cold weather won't last forever, and we'll all feel a lot better with a bit of sun on our backs, I'm sure.